Ask people what makes Rottweilers dangerous, and most will give the same answers. Their sheer strength. Their massive size. Their crushing bite force. But the truth is, none of those explain why this breed has been banned in entire countries, or why experts remain cautious even in controlled settings. There's something deeper. Something harder to measure. Something woven into their very psychology. One trait that, when misunderstood, transforms the Rottweiler from loyal guardian into unpredictable danger. But here's the twist, the very same trait that terrifies experts is the one that makes owners love them even more. This is the paradox at the heart of the breed. Fear and love tied to the same invisible thread. To understand it, we need to go back to history. The Rottweiler is one of the oldest working breeds in existence, descended from Roman drover dogs. These were not pampered pets. They were dogs bred to think, to guard, to make decisions on the move as they drove cattle across Europe. They weren't micromanaged, they were trusted to act. That independence carried forward into the modern Rottweiler. Unlike breeds that obey blindly, Rottweilers assess. They calculate. They weigh what they're being asked against their own sense of right and wrong. And once they decide, they commit with terrifying conviction. This is the trait that worries experts: judgment. The Rottweiler is not a robot. It doesn't just follow commands because they were given. It follows the commands it believes are fair, consistent, and worth obeying. That depth of judgment, paired with their physical power, makes them unlike almost any other breed. One trainer recalled a moment when a Rottweiler, mid-protection exercise, ignored the handler's command to release. Not because the dog was out of control, but because the threat hadn't retreated far enough. The Rottweiler had judged the situation for itself, and until it was satisfied, no order mattered. This is why dominance-based training often backfires. Some owners believe they must constantly prove they are alpha. They raise their voice. They use force. They punish harshly. And instead of respect, what they earn is suspicion. A Rottweiler may tolerate this, but it will never forget. Here's where tools like the tactical harness become more than equipment. With a Rottweiler, control must come through structure, not intimidation. A harness channels their strength, gives owners guidance without confrontation. To a dog this intelligent, restraint done with respect reinforces authority instead of breaking trust. The same is true for an e-collar. In unskilled hands, it can damage a bond. But in experienced hands, it becomes language. A whisper of correction. A reminder that keeps authority clear without anger. Because for Rottweilers, authority isn't about volume. It's about consistency. Owners describe this consistency as everything. One woman told of her Rottweiler who would guard the family's children at the park. If she was calm, the dog was calm. If she grew nervous, the dog stepped forward, silent, watchful. That judgment came not from a command, but from a bond. But judgment cuts both ways. Neglect a Rottweiler, and they judge you as unreliable. Punish unfairly, and they judge you as untrustworthy. Break their respect, and you'll see it in the silence. The dog that once rushed to the door now watches you from across the room, no longer sure you're worth following. This is the danger. Experts fear unpredictability. And what could be more unpredictable than a dog that chooses when to obey and when to resist? A Rottweiler's decision is final, and once made, it's not easily undone. But here's where owners disagree. They argue that this same judgment is what makes Rottweilers incredible family guardians. Because once they've chosen you, their loyalty is absolute. They won't hesitate. They won't second guess. They'll protect with a devotion that borders on myth. One owner told me of his Rottweiler who, during a house fire, refused to leave without him. The dog had every chance to escape. But it stood at the bedroom door until its owner woke, then led him through the smoke. That's judgment. That's choice. That's the trait experts call dangerous, and owners call love. The problem is, judgment comes with responsibility. These dogs don't complain loudly when they're hurting. They suffer in silence. This is why smart owners use joint support chews to protect them against the strain of their massive bodies. Because a Rottweiler in pain doesn't always limp or cry, it grows silent, and silence can mask suffering until it's too late. Mental needs are just as critical. A bored Rottweiler is a dangerous Rottweiler. Not because of malice, but because frustration builds in silence until it explodes. Owners who understand this turn to puzzle toys, structured training, and constant engagement. Not as entertainment, but as an outlet for a mind that was bred to work. So, is judgment the one trait that makes Rottweilers truly dangerous? Yes. But not because judgment itself is bad. It's dangerous when paired with neglect, inconsistency, or abuse. It's dangerous when humans fail to hold up their side of the bond. In the right hands, judgment makes them the finest guardians on earth. In the wrong hands, it makes them a headline. This is the duality that keeps Rottweilers at the center of controversy, angels to some, monsters to others. And that's the real truth. The same trait that terrifies experts is the one trait owners will defend until their last breath. Because judgment is what makes a Rottweiler more than a dog. It makes them a partner, a protector, a family member who chooses, every day, to stand by your side.